To round out the Sorceress support skills, we have a powerhouse that finally works as intended, Energy Shield, which now with some fixes and patches released in 2.4 is able to live up to its reputation as a method of near immortality, well, at least with its key synergy Telekinesis. The reason why this is important is because of fixes made to mana burn in the latest patches, taking it from mostly a PvP skill to something much more interesting. Starting with the support skill Telekinesis, since it's the truly important part of the formula, with no points, Energy Shield will drain 2 mana for every point of damage absorbed, and this can get pretty gnarly, and is one reason I tend to avoid the pure memory staff setups that generate extremely high energy shields without the Telekinesis investment. As you start investing more into Telekinesis though, you will see that the cost of your mana, like taking damage, decreases drastically. It's a little bit over 6% per hard point, reaching a 1-to-1 ratio at 16 hard points. Whenever you invest the full 20 points into it, you actually only lose mana equal to 75% of the damage it absorbed, which can save you a ton. Unfortunately, the other uses of Telekinesis make it a fairly forgotten skill outside of maybe speedrunning, since it does minimal lightning damage, it'll knock back maybe 35% of the time, and in newer versions of the game can only pick up golden consumables, things like potions, arrows, keys, etc. When I do have it on my hot swap, it's mostly because I want to go quick, since it can be used on things like waypoints, shrines, chests, urns, etc., basically touch-to-use items. Though town portals are a bit fiddly with it, only working in specific conditions. That said, with high enough faster cast, it can be a quick barrel clearer, at least compared to kicking, which can be handy in some farming areas. But in the end, its real utility for most people is going to be Energy Shield, though I appreciate it being at least a semi-unique synergy interaction instead of just more plus damage like most of them are. Now, speaking of Energy Shield, the reason this is so interesting is because of where it falls into the damage formula, sitting second in the list right behind Bone and Cyclone armors, and interestingly enough, encountering the same nature of ignoring your resists for calculating the damage. So whether you're positive or negative resist, Energy Shield will function as if you have 0% resistances, meaning 100 damage is 100 damage, even if you're amp damaged or under the effect of salvation. And since Energy Shield works on every normal damage type except poison, yes, all 7 damage types, it can get some serious work done throughout the game, though there are some things that bypass it, like Crushing Blow, Open Wounds, and self-damaging skills like Sacrifice, though how often you encounter these in the wild, it's pretty rare. Now, as far as how much it absorbs, a lot of builds will max it out, since it takes level 40 to reach the hard limit of 95% damage absorbed, so you'll only put less if you have methods of reaching that with less points invested, such as high-end memory staffs or a specific skill bump setup. Though don't discount it just because you lack the ability to reach this, or if you just happen to only have a few points to invest, since you hit 50% absorb at level 7 and 75% at level 20, which are both fairly significant amounts, and that's a bit of a reason why it's usually good to kind of invest in Telekinesis first before pumping the shield, unless you're running a very specific build that needs that high shield right away and does not need the mana. Now, with the mana burn fixed in Resurrected, there's not much to worry about there unless you're playing Lord of Destruction, in which case mana burn is going to wreck your day. So that leaves really only one big misunderstanding to talk about, and that's damage taken goes to mana. The skill has a lot of misunderstandings about it in general, but the basic function of it is restoring mana based on the amount of damage you take, not the other way around. But there is also commonly a misunderstanding about how it works with Energy Shield. The sad reality is, it is based on the damage you actively take to life. So whenever you have high levels of Energy Shield, you're only taking very small amounts of damage to your life, or ideally none in some cases, meaning that damage to mana becomes less and less effective. So generally not recommended to go for a perfect balance between the two effects, though it can be semi-useful if you're running a low-level Energy Shield as a support skill rather than as a main tanking skill. So I will include a link to the page with a table showing you the percents needed, assuming you have a flat 0% resist to the damage types in question. Personally, I tend to lean a bit more into the prevent all damage approach commonly used in Immortal builds. High energy shield, high resist, good incremental damage reduction, and absorb to minimize or even eliminate the actual damage taken. Though this was a common tactic in PvP even before Resurrected, it's just for me the changes that fixed mana burn have made a skill I only use in those specific builds back to a skill I now finally consider an option for most builds, even in PvM. Again, and when paired with Warmth or even Insight, it can be used with mana-hungry Sorceress builds like Novas and stuff like that. So have you tried building an Immortal Sorceress, or do you prefer to focus solely on damage output? Mention it down below, and if you want to know more about the damage mitigation in detail, click the video on screen now, and as always, keep gaming, have fun, and peace out. This has been Alzorath. Bye.